This is HOA Citation Circus. Let me set the scene fast. Gloria Carter slapped a bank statement on the table in front of me and screamed that the totals were correct because she said so. Her face was red, her voice was shaking, and the metal key fob she kept tapping on the table sounded like a gavel every time she wanted me to shut up. I stood there in the management office lobby, my backpack strap digging into my shoulder, and I did not say a word. "Your file says you do this every time," she snapped, jabbing one finger at the paper. "Every single time someone asks for records, you find a reason to block it," I said calmly. She froze for a second, then grabbed the statement off the table and shoved it into a folder. "I am not blocking anything," she said. "I am following procedure." That was 3 days ago. Today I am standing in my driveway in Missoula, Montana, holding a violation notice that makes no sense, and I can feel the same cold case pattern clicking into place. The notice says my pest control van was parked in violation of Ironwood Trails HOA Incorporated rules. It lists a date and time when I was not even home. The signature at the bottom is Gloria Carter, Pool and Amenities Chair, and the notice is printed on the same template I remember from 2 years ago when my neighbor got hit with a fake landscaping violation that nearly cost him his vendor contract. I work as a pest control technician, and I keep detailed service logs for every single job. I know exactly where I was on the date they are claiming, and it was not here. I flip the notice over and check the postmark on the envelope. It is dated 2 days after the alleged violation. That is the first red flag. The second red flag is that the notice references a rule amendment I have never seen, and when I pull up the HOA portal on my phone, the amendment is not there. The third red flag is that Gloria signed it herself instead of routing it through the management company like the covenants require. I stand there in the heat, my red trucker cap shading my eyes, and I start thinking about the landscaping contractor who got buried in fake violations 2 years ago. He told me back then that someone on the board was coordinating with vendors to stage evidence, but he could not prove it. He moved out 6 months later. I never forgot that conversation. I walk back inside and pull out my service log binder. Every job I run gets logged with a timestamp, an address, a client signature, and a photo of the property before and after treatment. On the date Gloria is claiming I violated the parking rule, I was in Lolo, Montana, treating a commercial warehouse for rodents. I have the signed invoice, the GPS timestamp from my work phone, and a photo of my van in the warehouse parking lot. I take pictures of all 3 documents with my phone, then I email them to myself with the subject line "Evidence Backup." I learned a long time ago that in a neighborhood where the portal is full of screenshots and accusations, you document everything, or you lose. The next morning I get a follow-up email from the management company. It says I have 5 business days to respond to the violation or the fine escalates to $250. The email is CC'd to Gloria, and at the bottom there is a note in smaller font that says further violations may result in towing or lien action. I read that line 3 times. My car is essential for my commute, and the HOA towing threat is a serious danger. If they tow my van, I miss jobs. If I miss jobs, I lose clients. If I lose clients, I cannot pay my mortgage. The stakes are real, and Gloria knows it. I draft a response and attach my service log, the GPS timestamp, and the warehouse photo. I keep the tone calm and factual. I state that I was not on the property during the alleged violation. I provide proof, and I request a formal hearing to dispute the notice. I send the email at 9 in the morning, and by noon I get a reply from the management office. It says my response has been received and forwarded to the board, but the fine is still active pending review. I call the management office and ask to speak to someone in person. The woman on the phone tells me the office closes at 4, and if I want to deliver a dispute packet in person, I need to get there before then. That gives me 3 hours. I print out a full dispute packet. I include the service log, the GPS data, the warehouse photo, the original violation notice, the email thread, and a cover letter requesting a formal hearing under the covenants. I clip it all together with a metal binder clip and stuff it into my backpack. Then I drive to the management office. I get there at 3:45. The lobby is empty except for one staff member at the front desk. I hand her the packet and ask her to stamp the cover letter with a received date and time. She looks at the clock, then at the packet, then at me. She stamps it. I take a photo of the stamp with my phone. She slides the packet into a file tray and tells me the board will review it at the next meeting. When I walk back outside, Gloria is standing next to my van. She has a clipboard in one hand and a phone in the other, and she is taking photos of my license plate. I stop a few feet away and wait. She looks up and smiles. "If you make me repeat myself, it gets more expensive," she says. I keep my voice steady. "I just filed a dispute with the management company," I say. "You will get a copy." She taps the metal key fob against the clipboard. "Go ahead and call whoever you want. I have a committee for that," she says. Then she walks to her car, gets in and drives away. I stand there for a minute watching her taillights disappear, and I realize this is not about a parking violation. This is about control. That night I go back through my old emails and search for anything related to the landscaping contractor who moved out 2 years ago. His name was Ed, and he did seasonal work for half the neighborhood. I find the thread where he warned me about staged violations. He said someone on the board was paying vendors to change dates on invoices and then submitting the altered invoices as proof of violations. He said he caught them because one of the vendors felt guilty and sent him the original invoice with the real date. He said he reported it to the management company, but the complaint disappeared. He said the board told him his vendor license was under review and he should leave the neighborhood voluntarily. He left. I forward the thread to myself and add it to a new folder I am calling Cold Case. Then I pull up the HOA portal and start looking for patterns. I search for violation notices issued in the last 3 years. There are 47. 32 of them were signed by Gloria. 18 of them list parking violations. 12 of them list vendor compliance issues. I cross-reference the dates on the vendor violations with the portal calendar, and I find something interesting. Every single vendor violation was issued within 24 hours of a records request being filed by the homeowner. That is not a coincidence. I take screenshots of the violation patterns and save them to the cold case folder. Then I search the portal for records requests. There are 23. 19 of them were denied. The denial reasons are all variations of the same phrase: request does not meet formatting requirements per board policy. I click on one of the denied requests and read the original submission. It is a simple one-paragraph email asking for copies of the last 2 years of board meeting minutes. The denial email says the request must be submitted on the official form, but the portal does not have a link to the official form. I click on another denied request. Same story. Different homeowner. Same denial. No form. I go back to my own records request from 3 months ago. I asked for copies of the budget and the reserve study. The denial email said I needed to submit the request in writing on the official form and deliver it to the management office in person. I went to the office and asked for the form. They told me the form was on the portal. I checked the portal and there was no form. I emailed the management office and told them there was no form. They replied that the form was available upon request at the office. I went back to the office and asked again. They printed me a form that had no version number, no date, and no official letterhead. I filled it out and submitted it. 2 weeks later, I got a denial email that said my request was incomplete because I did not include a reason for the request. The covenants do not require a reason. I lean back in my chair and stare at the screen. This is a system. This is not one bad decision. This is a coordinated pattern of denying access, moving goalposts, and weaponizing procedures to keep homeowners from seeing the records. I start wondering what the records would show if I ever got access. I start wondering if the missing money Ed mentioned is still missing. I start wondering if Gloria has been doing this the whole time. The next morning I get a call from a number I do not recognize. I answer, and a man introduces himself as Rick, the landscaping contractor who works the common areas for Ironwood Trails. He says he heard I filed a dispute and he wants to talk. I ask him how he heard about it. He laughs. Gloria told me to stage some photos, he says. I told her no. He says Gloria asked him to take photos of my van parked in a red zone during a time when I was not home. He says she offered to pay him $50 and told him the photos were for routine compliance documentation. He says he has done work for her before and she has always been pushy, but this time she crossed a line. He says he wants to help. I meet Rick at a coffee shop near the HOA office. He brings a folder with printed photos clipped together and a stack of invoices. The photos show my van parked legally in my driveway on 3 different dates. The invoices show dates and times that match the photos. He slides the folder across the table. She tried to get me to backdate this one, he says, tapping the top photo. I told her I do not do that. She said if I did not help her, she would pull my vendor contract with the HOA. I gave her a small thank you, because she just handed me leverage. Rick nods. I recorded the whole conversation on my phone, he says. I can send you the file. I take the folder and Rick sends me the audio file. He also gives me a signed statement on his company letterhead that says he was approached by Gloria Carter on a specific date and asked to fabricate evidence. He says he will testify if it comes to that. I thank him and tell him I will keep him updated. He leaves, and I sit there for a minute staring at the folder. This is the second clue. The first clue was the violation pattern. The second clue is a vendor admitting Gloria tried to bribe him into staging evidence. I need a third clue to connect it to the cold case from 2 years ago. I spend the next 2 days pulling everything I can find on Ed, the contractor who left. I search property records, business filings, and old neighborhood group chat logs. I find a thread from 2 years ago where Ed posted a screenshot of a violation notice that looked identical to mine. Same template. Same signature. Same vague rule citation. A neighbor replied and said they got the same notice the week before. Another neighbor said they tried to fight it, and the board told them they were in violation of the dispute procedures. Ed replied and said he was done fighting and he was moving out. The thread died after that. I download the screenshots and add them to the cold case folder. Then I search for the neighbor who said they tried to fight it. Her name is Lisa, and she still lives in the neighborhood. I send her a message through the portal and ask if she has time to talk. She replies within an hour and says she will meet me at the mailbox cluster near her house. I grab my backpack and walk over. Lisa is waiting by the mailboxes when I arrive. She is holding a manila envelope and she looks nervous. I got your message, she says. I did not think anyone else was looking into this. I tell her about the violation notice, the fake date, the vendor testimony, and the pattern I found on the portal. She nods. That is exactly what happened to me, she says. She opens the envelope and pulls out a stack of papers. These are copies of every notice I got 2 years ago, she says. I filed a formal complaint with the management company and they told me the records were lost. I kept my own copies. I flip through the stack. Every notice is signed by Gloria. Every notice lists a violation date that does not match the facts. Every notice threatens escalation if the homeowner does not comply within 5 days. I take photos of each page and ask Lisa if I can keep the originals. She says yes. She also tells me that when she tried to dispute the notices, Gloria showed up at her house with a clipboard and a backup person from the board. They told her the rules were clear and if she kept fighting, they would refer her case to the HOA attorney. She says she paid the fines because she could not afford a lawyer. She says she has been waiting for someone to challenge Gloria ever since. I thank Lisa and walk back home. I now have 3 clues. The violation pattern on the portal. The vendor testimony and the bribe attempt. The matching notice templates and the disappeared complaint. All 3 clues point to the same person. Gloria has been running this scheme for at least 2 years, and the management company either does not know or does not care. I need one more piece to make it undeniable. I need proof that Gloria and the management company coordinated the harassment. That night I get an email from the management office. It says my dispute has been reviewed by the board and the fine is upheld. The email says I have 3 days to pay or the fine escalates and my account is referred to collections. I reply and ask for a copy of the board meeting minutes where my dispute was discussed. The reply comes back in 10 minutes. It says the minutes are not available yet because the meeting was informal. I reply again and cite the section of the covenants that says all board decisions must be documented in minutes within 7 days. The reply says the minutes will be posted when they are ready. I call the management office and ask to speak to the property manager. I get transferred to a voicemail. I leave a message asking for the minutes and for a list of all board members who voted on my dispute. I do not get a call back. I send a follow-up email and CC Gloria. No response. I wait 24 hours, and then I file a formal records request using the form I got 3 months ago. I ask for copies of all meeting minutes from the last 12 months, all vendor contracts, and all violation notices issued in the last 3 years. I submit it in person at the management office and get a stamped receipt. The staff member tells me I will get a response within 15 business days. I walk out of the office and Gloria is standing in the parking lot again. This time she has her portable folding sign stand with her and she is setting it up on the curb. The sign says residents, compliance inspection today. I walk past her and she calls out to me. "You know you are wasting everyone's time, right?" she says. I stop and turn around. "I filed a legal records request," I say. "That is not a waste of time." She taps the metal key fob against the sign stand. "If you make me repeat myself, it gets more expensive," she says. I do not respond. I just take a photo of the sign with my phone and walk to my van. 2 days later, I get a surprise. Gloria shows up at my house with a clipboard and a backup person I do not recognize. She knocks on my door at 7 in the morning and tells me she is conducting a routine compliance inspection. I ask her for the notice. She says the notice was posted on the portal yesterday. I pull up the portal on my phone and there is no notice. She taps the clipboard. "The notice is right here," she says, holding up a printed page that is dated today. I take a photo of the page with my phone. "This says today," I say. "You just told me it was posted yesterday." She does not blink. "If you make me repeat myself, it gets more expensive," she says. I ask her to leave. She says she has the authority to inspect common area sight lines from my property, and she does not need my permission. I tell her my property line is clearly marked, and she is welcome to stand on the sidewalk. She steps onto my driveway. I pull out my phone and start recording. She sees the phone and her face changes. "You are recording me without my consent," she says. "Montana is a one-party consent state," I say. "I am allowed to record." She steps back and tells the backup person to take photos of my front yard. I keep recording. The backup person takes a few photos and they both leave. I send the video file to my cold case folder and I add a note that says Gloria attempted a surprise inspection with no valid notice. That afternoon I get a call from Rick, the landscaping contractor. He says Gloria called him again and tried to pressure him into changing his story. He says she told him that if he testified or gave me any more documents, she would make sure he never worked in the neighborhood again. He says he told her to leave him alone and he hung up. He says he is willing to go on record with everything. I thank him and I send him a copy of the video I took that morning. He replies and says this is exactly what she did to Ed 2 years ago. I start putting the timeline together. 2 years ago, Ed filed a complaint about staged violations. The complaint disappeared. Ed got pressured by vendors and by the board. Ed moved out. The pattern stopped for a while. Then it started again. This time it is targeting me. The difference is that I am documenting everything, and I have Rick and Lisa as witnesses. I need one more piece. I need proof that Gloria and the management company are coordinating. If you are enjoying this, hit like and subscribe, because the receipts are about to get nuclear. 3 days later, I get the response to my records request. The management office sends me a denial email. It says my request was improperly formatted and did not include the required fee. I reply and attach a copy of the stamped receipt that shows I used their official form, and I included a check for $25. The reply says the form I used was outdated, and the new fee is $50. I reply and ask for a copy of the updated form and the fee schedule. The reply says both are available on the portal. I check the portal, and there is nothing. I call the office, and the property manager finally picks up. She tells me the new form was posted last week. I tell her I am looking at the portal right now, and there is no new form. She says she will email me a copy. I wait 2 hours. No email. I drive to the office and walk in. The same staff member is at the front desk. I ask her to print me a copy of the updated records request form. She looks confused. I do not think we have an updated form, she says. I show her the email from the property manager. She reads it and frowns. Let me check, she says. She walks into a back room and I hear her talking to someone. A minute later, she comes back with a single sheet of paper. This is the only form we have, she says. It is the same form I used. I take a photo of it. I ask her if the fee changed. She says the fee has been $25 for 3 years. I take a photo of her computer screen showing the fee schedule. She looks uncomfortable. Is there a problem? She asks. Not with you, I say. I walk out of the office and I see Gloria in the parking lot again. She is talking on her phone and she does not see me at first. I get into my van and I sit there for a minute. Then I open my email and I search for anything from the management company that mentions Gloria. I find a thread from 6 weeks ago where the property manager CC'd Gloria on a message about my first records request. The message says the request was received and will be processed. Gloria replied and said the request should be denied because it did not include a reason. The property manager replied and said the covenants do not require a reason. Gloria replied again and said the board has the discretion to deny any request that does not serve a legitimate purpose. The property manager did not reply after that. I screenshot the thread and add it to the cold case folder. This is the 4th clue. Gloria has been telling the management company to deny my requests. The management company has been following her instructions. This is coordination. This is the proof I needed. I sit in my van and I start drafting a formal complaint. I include the violation pattern, the vendor testimony, the matching templates, the disappeared complaints, the records denials, and the email thread showing Gloria and the management company working together. I attach every document, every screenshot, every photo, and every audio file. I print the whole packet and put it in a 3-ring binder. The binder is 2 inches thick. That night I get a notice on my door. It says my van is parked in violation of overnight parking rules and it will be towed in 24 hours if not moved. The notice is signed by Gloria and it lists a rule number I have never heard of. I pull up the covenants on my phone and search for the rule number. It does not exist. I take a photo of the notice and I add it to the binder. Then I call the towing company listed on the notice. The dispatcher tells me they have a contract with Ironwood Trails HOA and they will tow any vehicle with a notice tag. I ask him if he verifies the rule citations before towing. He says he does not. He says the HOA provides the list and he follows it. I ask him if he keeps records of who authorizes the tows. He says yes. I ask him for a copy of the authorization log for the last 3 years. He says I need to submit a written request. I draft the request and fax it to the towing company. The next morning I get a call from the dispatcher. He says he cannot release the log without HOA approval. I tell him the request is for my own records and I am a homeowner in the HOA. He says he still needs approval. I ask him who approves it. He says Gloria Carter. I thank him and hang up. This is the loop. Gloria controls the tow authorizations, Gloria controls the records access, and Gloria controls the narrative. If I do not break the loop, I lose. I call Lisa and I ask her if she knows anyone else who got towed under suspicious circumstances. She says yes. A neighbor named Paul got towed 2 years ago after he filed a complaint about the pool hours. The tow company said his car was in a fire lane. Paul said his car was in his driveway. He fought it, and the HOA said the tow was valid because the driveway encroached on the fire lane by 6 inches. Paul measured the driveway, and it did not encroach. He took photos and submitted them to the board. The board said the photos were not taken by a licensed surveyor, and they were inadmissible. Paul paid the tow fee because he needed his car back. Lisa gives me his phone number and I call him. Paul remembers everything. He tells me Gloria was the one who called the tow company. He tells me the tow driver was confused because the car was clearly in the driveway and not in the fire lane. He tells me the tow driver asked Gloria to confirm the tow order and she told him the driveway was not compliant and the tow was valid. Paul says he asked the tow driver for a copy of the work order, and the driver said he could not release it without HOA approval. Paul says he filed a formal complaint with the management company and the complaint was never answered. He says he still has the tow receipt and the photos. He says he will send them to me. I get the email an hour later. The tow receipt shows the date, the time, the location, and the authorization signature. The signature is Gloria Carter. The photos show Paul's car parked completely inside his driveway with at least 3 feet of clearance on all sides. I add the receipt and the photos to the binder. This is the 5th clue. Gloria has been authorizing fake tows for at least 2 years. The tow company has been following her orders without verifying the violations. This is a pattern that spans multiple homeowners and multiple years. This is not a mistake. This is a scheme. I call Rick and I tell him I need one more thing. I need him to go on speaker during a meeting so everyone can hear him confirm that Gloria tried to bribe him. He says he will do it. I call Lisa and I ask her if she will testify. She says yes. I call Paul and I ask him if he will testify. He says yes. I now have 3 witnesses, 5 categories of evidence, and a binder full of proof. I need to deploy it in a way that forces the board to act. The next morning I get an email from the management company. It says the board has scheduled a special meeting to discuss my dispute, and I am invited to attend. The meeting is in 2 days. The email says I have 10 minutes to present my case, and the board will vote immediately after. I reply and ask if I can bring witnesses. The reply says witnesses are allowed, but they must be on the official witness list submitted 24 hours in advance. I draft the witness list and I include Rick, Lisa, and Paul. I submit it by email and I get a confirmation. Then I make copies of the binder for every board member and for the property manager. I print a cover letter that summarizes the evidence and I clip the whole packet together. I am ready. The day before the meeting, I get a text from Gloria. It says the meeting location has changed, and the new location is the community center near the pool. I pull up the original email and it says the meeting is at the management office. I reply to the text and ask why the location changed. No response. I call the management office and ask if the meeting location changed. The staff member says she does not know anything about a location change. I forward her the text from Gloria. She says she will check with the property manager and call me back. An hour later, I get a call. The property manager says the meeting is still at the management office and Gloria does not have the authority to change the location. I thank her and I hang up. This is the 6th clue. Gloria is trying to confuse me and make me miss the meeting. It does not work. The next evening, I arrive at the management office at 6:45. The meeting is scheduled for 7. I bring the binder, the witness list, and my backpack with the camera case inside. Rick, Lisa, and Paul are already there. The lobby is packed. There are at least 20 neighbors sitting in folding chairs and standing along the walls. I do not recognize most of them, but they all look like they have been through the same thing. Gloria is sitting at the front table with 4 other board members. She sees me walk in and her expression does not change. She taps the metal key fob on the table twice. The meeting starts. The board president reads the agenda. My dispute is listed as item 4 out of 5. The first 3 items are routine approvals. I sit in the back row with Rick, Lisa, and Paul. The room is hot and the air is tense. Gloria keeps glancing at me. The first 3 items take 20 minutes. Then the president calls item 4. She says I have 10 minutes to present my case and the board will ask questions after. I stand up and I walk to the front. I put the binder on the table and I slide copies to each board member and to the property manager. Then I start talking. I lay out the 5 categories of evidence. The violation pattern on the portal showing 32 notices signed by Gloria, 18 of them parking violations, 12 of them vendor compliance issues, and every single one issued within 24 hours of a records request. The vendor testimony from Rick showing Gloria tried to bribe him into staging photos and threatened to pull his contract when he refused. The matching notice templates from Lisa showing identical violations issued 2 years ago with the same fake dates and the same disappeared complaints. The email thread showing Gloria and the property manager coordinating to deny my records requests even though the covenants do not require a reason. The tow authorizations from Paul showing Gloria ordered a fake tow and the tow company followed her order without verifying the violation. I take 6 minutes. The room is silent. Then I deploy the trump card. I pull out a second packet from my backpack. This one is smaller and it is in a clear plastic sleeve. I slide it across the table to the board president. This is a full email chain with headers showing Gloria and the management company coordinated the harassment, I say. The property manager told Gloria to deny my requests. Gloria told the property manager to escalate the fines. The management company followed her instructions. This is not a dispute about one parking violation. This is a pattern of abuse that has been going on for at least 2 years. I gave Gloria a small thank you, because she just handed me leverage. The board president opens the packet and reads the first page. Her face changes. She looks at Gloria. Gloria does not say anything. She just sits there tapping the key fob on the table. The board president asks if anyone has questions. One of the board members asks Rick to confirm the vendor testimony. Rick stands up and repeats the story. He says Gloria called him twice and tried to pressure him into staging photos. He says he recorded the second call and he can play it if the board wants to hear it. The board president says that will not be necessary. Another board member asks Lisa if she kept copies of her original complaint. Lisa stands up and says yes. She says she filed the complaint 2 years ago and the management company told her the records were lost. She says she has her own copies and they are in the binder. The board president nods. She looks at Gloria again. Gloria still does not say anything. Then Paul stands up without being asked. He says he was towed 2 years ago under the same fake rule citation. He says Gloria authorized the tow even though his car was clearly in his driveway. He says the tow driver was confused and asked Gloria to confirm the order. He says Gloria confirmed it anyway. He says he has the tow receipt, the photos, and the work order. He says it is all in the binder. The board president closes her eyes for a second. Then she looks at the property manager. "Did you know about any of this?" she asks. The property manager shakes her head. "I knew about the records requests," she says. "I did not know about the vendor pressure or the fake tows." The board president stands up. She says the board needs to take a short recess to review the evidence. She says the meeting will resume in 15 minutes. Gloria stands up and tries to leave. The board president stops her. "You need to stay," she says. Gloria sits back down. The other board members get up and walk into a side room with the property manager. The lobby stays packed. No one leaves. I sit back down next to Rick, Lisa, and Paul. We do not say anything. We just wait. 15 minutes later, the board comes back. The president sits down and clears her throat. She says the board has reviewed the evidence and the board has voted. She says Gloria Carter is removed from her position as pool and amenities chair effective immediately. She says Gloria's admin access to the portal and the vendor contracts is revoked. She says the board is referring the evidence to the HOA attorney for a full investigation. She says the board is also voting to approve mediation with a neutral third party to review all disputed violations from the last 3 years. She says any homeowner who feels they were targeted can file for a refund and the board will review it. She says the meeting is adjourned. Gloria stands up. Her phone dies mid-rant and she freezes in place. She tries to turn it back on. It does not turn on. She looks at the board president. "This is not over," she says. The board president does not respond. Gloria picks up the metal key fob and the portable folding sign stand and walks out. The room erupts. Neighbors are clapping, some are crying, some are hugging each other. Rick, Lisa, and Paul shake my hand. The board president walks over and thanks me for documenting everything. She says this has been going on longer than she realized and she is sorry it took this long to stop it. I tell her I appreciate the vote. I tell her I will be watching to make sure the mediation happens. 2 weeks later, I get a letter from the HOA attorney. It says the investigation confirmed that Gloria violated multiple sections of the covenants, including abuse of authority, misuse of vendor contracts, and coordination with the management company to deny lawful records requests. It says Gloria has resigned from the board and she has agreed not to run for any HOA position in the future. It says the board has voted to refund all disputed fines from the last 3 years and to post a public apology on the portal. It says the management company has agreed to implement new records request procedures and to train all staff on transparency requirements. It says the tow company has been dropped from the vendor list. The letter ends with a statute citation read into the minutes that shuts the threat down. I get a refund check for $250. Lisa gets a refund for $300. Paul gets a refund for $420. Rick gets his vendor contract renewed for another 2 years. The portal gets updated with new records request forms that actually work. The board votes to remove Gloria's admin access and she can no longer delete portal records. The neighborhood group chat is full of thank you messages and screenshots of the apology letter. Someone posts a photo of Gloria's empty parking spot at the community center. The caption says karma. 1 month after the meeting, I run into Gloria at a grocery store parking lot nearby. She is loading groceries into her car and she sees me walking toward the entrance. She stops and stares. I keep walking. She calls out to me. "You think you won," she says. I stop and turn around. The HOA agrees to mediation with a neutral third party, I say. You are told to step down and you cannot spin it. That is a win. She does not say anything. She just gets into her car and drives away. I watch her leave and I feel the weight lift. This is over. I go home and I open the cold case folder one more time. I read through the emails, the screenshots, the audio files, the photos, and the receipts. I think about Ed, the contractor who moved out 2 years ago because no one believed him. I think about Lisa, who paid fines she did not owe because she could not afford a lawyer. I think about Paul, who lost a day of work because his car got towed for no reason. I think about Rick, who almost lost his contract because he refused to lie. I think about all the homeowners who are still out there fighting the same fight in neighborhoods where the portal is full of screenshots and accusations and no one keeps records. I close the folder and I back it up to 3 different drives. I email a copy to the board president, the HOA attorney, and the property manager. I email a copy to Rick, Lisa, and Paul. I email a copy to Ed with a subject line that says, "You were right." He replies 2 hours later. He says he is glad someone finally caught her. He says he wishes he had documented everything like I did. He says he might move back someday. I tell him the neighborhood is safer now. I tell him the rules apply evenly now. I tell him Gloria is gone. That night I sit on my porch and I watch the neighborhood settle in. The porch lights glow in deep bokeh. The hot day fades into a cool evening. A few neighbors walk past and wave. One of them stops and thanks me. Another one asks if I need anything. I tell them I am good. I tell them to keep documenting everything. I tell them to never stop asking for records. I tell them the system works if you make it work. They nod and keep walking. I sit there for a while and I think about the receipts, the deadlines, the notices, and the paperwork. I think about the times and the timestamps and the creation dates. I think about the statute citation and the mediation and the refund checks. I think about the karma and the consequences and the neutral third party. I think about the moment Gloria froze in the parking lot and realized she could not spin it anymore. I think about the moment the board president said the investigation confirmed everything. I think about the moment the room erupted and the neighbors clapped. I think about the moment I handed the binder to the board and watched the power dynamic flip. I think about all of that, and I realize this is what justice looks like when you keep records. This is what happens when you refuse to let them move the goalposts. This is what happens when you find the missing pieces and you connect the clues and you catch the person who thought they were untouchable. This is what happens when you reopen the cold case and you do not stop until you get the truth. Document everything. And I will see you soon.